Knicks. And I've thought ever since the postseason began, heck, probably midway through the regular season, that it didn't really matter who won the East. I thought that the Western Conference would win the NBA Finals. And the next champion, likely Oklahoma City, possibly San Antonio, would be the NBA champs. And so I've watched the Knicks throughout the course of the postseason. And they're by far the best performing club from the start of the postseason up until now. But here's what I'm really struggling with, my dilemma. Are the Knicks a legitimate threat to win the championship, either against Oklahoma City or San Antonio, based on how they're playing with 11 straight wins and total dominance? Or is it fool's gold because they've been able to do it against teams named Atlanta, Philadelphia, and then Cleveland? They have clearly taken advantage of the opportunity that was laid out in front of them in a weakened Eastern Conference. Boston came apart at the seams and lost to Philadelphia. They had injuries. Philadelphia was banged up. They had injuries. And then the Cavs, after back-to-back 7-game series, looked gassed and out of sorts in the Eastern Conference Final. And I'm not trying to take anything away from the Knicks. What I'm trying to figure out is, are they legitimate title contenders? Meaning, can they win 4 games against either Oklahoma City or San Antonio? So if you got any thoughts on that, 503-248-0620. Jalen Brunson is awesome. I'm a big fan of OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges. They used to have a lot of guys who are playing well. And, of course, Karl Anthony Towns, who has really turned his game around since midway through the Atlanta series when they've got him in that role of facilitator. And they were just smoking the Cavs yesterday with second chance points. And it looked like the Cavs laid down and just died. I hate to say that someone quit, but it sure looked like through my eyes that the Cavs just quit on that game. And Kenny Atkinson, the Cavs head coach, it was announced today by Shams that he's going to return next year as head coach. That is a horrific decision. And it was a really bad week for Kenny Atkinson, and we'll play the hits. Some of the stuff that flew out of the mouths of some of their players and their coach, Kenny Atkinson, over the last week is absolute insanity, including James Harden and Donovan Mitchell. But Kenny Atkinson, he had a quote that he'll never be able to get away from. Ever. Take a listen to this nonsense by Kenny Atkinson. Let me give you a sample. And this is just one soundbite from a week of some of the worst sound bites you're ever going to hear from a coach in any sport. It's like, what is this guy doing? Hey, Kenny, are you a dum-dum? Do you need someone to screw your dome on straight? What's going on inside of your mind? I'm not even sure I want to know. Down 3-0. This is what he had to say. And I'm guessing that the fans of the Cavs weren't too excited about this type of chatter.
Analytically, I think we've won I said 3 out of 3. We're 2 out of 3. And the expected, if you guys follow that, there's an expected score. And we won 2 out of 3. And I know you're looking confused, but I'm not. There is really, if you believe in process and all that, like man up. So, take that later. I know I don't throw that on them. I see it for myself. We have this feeling, then I can go to an analytical table and be like, man, we are, last night it was, the expected score was like 1 point or 2. Us shooting way below expected, them shooting way over. I know no one wants to hear that. I think you guys like hearing it. I know, general public, no one wants to hear it. Everyone's outcome based. Sure, I get that too.
Yeah, of course you should get that, you moron. That's why we love sports. It's outcome based, you idiot. There is a winner and there is a loser. There's a champion and there's a runner-up. Yes, it's outcome-based. Thank God. The sports that are not outcome-based, like the Olympics, when you have a panel of judges, are the absolute worst. Because then it becomes subjective. I can't believe he said that. He's like, I know no one wants to hear this. Then why are you saying it, you idiot? It's because you believe it. You cannot be facing a 3-0 deficit in a Eastern Conference final and start dropping the analytic takes about expected wins. And we should have won 2 of the 3 games. Well, we should have won 2 of the 3 games based on expected score. Oh, my God. If I'm a Cavs fan, I would be pulling my hair out. The reality is you got your ass whooped. In 4 straight games, you got swept, and your team quit in game 4. Expected score? Are you kidding me? This is what the nerds have done to sports. The nerds. I'm okay with analytics. But when it gets to a point where you're trying to explain away a 3-0 deficit after getting smoked in game 1 when you're up 22 points with 7 minutes to go, and you blow it, and then you lose the next 2 games and get your butt kicked, and then you finish it off with a quit job in game 4, you cannot be giving me the analytic takes, Kenny. Be better. I mean, come on. Yes, it's outcome-based. Yes, that is why we love sports, a winner and a loser. So we'll get into that with Brad Bakken. Unbelievable. And that's just one soundbite. Epically bad, and he's got more. It was a bad week for Kenny Atkinson. Now, coming up at 4:20, we're going to talk with Brian Berger, my former colleague at a different station in town from Sports Business Radio. He was on Yahoo Sports and had this to say when asked about Tom Dundon.
Is the Trailblazers' long-term future in Portland?
I think he's going to do everything in his power to move them. And it breaks my heart to say that because I used to work for the Trailblazers. I live in Portland. But this seems to be Sonics 2.0. And I think he's going to say all the right things. And at the end of the day, he's going to come with a pretty cutthroat deal for the state and the city. And when they don't make that deal, I think he's going to use that as his excuse to move the team. And the way it works with at least NBA Board of Governors is when you sit around that table, other owners are not going to stop you from doing what you want to do, like relocating, because if they want to do something in the future, they don't want you to vote against them. So they are very unlikely to vote against him to move. By the way, if he does relocate, there's a relocation fee attached to that. So all the other teams in the NBA would make money from Dundon relocating to a Nashville, a San Diego, someplace like that.
All right, Brian Berger had that to say on Yahoo Sports, so we're going to have him on to discuss. Now, as I've stated before, I think some of the reporting on Tom Dundon has been a little bit out of control. Most of it like that. The sky is falling, whether it be about the T-shirts and the towels or about the two-way players not going on the trip. You name it. It's all been negative. And my whole take on Tom Dundon is this. He's not an unknown. He's got a track record in Carolina with the Hurricanes, who had a huge overtime victory last night. They're on the verge of getting to the Stanley Cup final. He's been very successful there. So he obviously knows what he's doing. Now, the question is, will his plan adapt well to the NBA? I believe it will. And so I've got confidence that he knows what he's doing. And in regards to the layoffs, I hate it when people lose their jobs, especially people I know and care about. I really do. But it's nothing new. Paul Allen, during his time, had job cuts. The Minnesota Timberwolves new ownership group cut 40 jobs. Usually when people take over and purchase a business, or in this case, the Trailblazers, they want to get things in order. And he had a chance to talk to Bill Oram, and I'll give you some details on the latest from Bill Oram, who had a chance to catch up with Tom Dundon, and he talks about the layoffs. And really what he's looking for is more productivity. Less people, more productivity, and really trying to streamline the way that they do things on the business side with the Trailblazers. But we'll talk to Brian Berger. Do I think the team's going to move? No. Do I think that they'll eventually get a deal done with the state, city, and the county? Yes. Am I concerned about the city council? 100% I am. My biggest concern in this whole situation is the Portland City Council. I just hope that they have the ability or the wherewithal to be able to get a deal done and to not play defense and to play more offense and try to roll out the red carpet for Dundon so that the Trailblazers remain for an extended period of time. I guess what I'm trying to say is that if the team were to move, and I don't think that's going to happen, it wouldn't be on Dundon. It would be on the city council for their inability to do things the right way. All right, 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. Kenny Atkinson, thank God he's not the coach of the Trailblazers. I would lose my mind. Expected wins. He's down 3-0 in the Eastern Conference Final. His team's getting thrashed by the Knicks, and he's talking about expected wins. Well, we should have won 2 of the first 3 games. Hey, Kenny, your fans do not want to hear that type of nonsense because you were right. It's an outcome-based business. You either win or you lose. And your team lost 4 straight. And, oh, by the way, they lied down in game number 4. They got clowned. Unbelievable. And the best part is it was announced that he's returning next year. Good job, Cavs. Oh, my gosh. 503-248-0620. Hops Ticket Tuesday. We'll do it at 5. Brian Botkin at 5:20 and Brian Berger talking to Tom Dutton at 4:20 here on the Rip City Drive. All right, Rip City Drive. Telephone number 503-248-0620. All right, so Brian Berger, Sports Business Radio, coming up at 4:20 to talk about Tom Dundon and potential relocation. He was on Yahoo Sports today, so we'll get his take on the situation between Dundon, the Trailblazers, and the state, city, and the local council. I mean, the bottom line is they got to get that deal done and get the ink on the dotted line to make sure that this team is here for an extended period of time. I would say my biggest concern, one, would be the council and whether or not they're capable of putting together such a deal and not playing defense and really treating Dundon like they're on a first date, rolling out the red carpet, playing offense, and trying to show him how much you want him, right? That's important. It's critical. Losing the Trailblazers would be an absolute disaster. So the council concerns me. And outside of that, the other part that concerns me is the local economic conditions right now in the state and the city. It's a problem. The Blazers were ranked 30th in corporate sponsorship dollars. That's a serious problem. And the downtown area is a problem. Like, we got some economic issues here. And so I could understand why an owner might want to look elsewhere, where you can make more profit, where you have local politicians that want to do more for you to make sure that you have everything you need to operate at a high level. So those are my two big concerns: the council and their ability to negotiate with Dundon and his team, and the local economic conditions here in the city and state. 503-248-0620. I don't know what the deal is. Like, do people just generally hate billionaires? Some people. Because a lot of people that I talk to in this area, and I work with people just like this, they have this idea that billionaires are just inherently evil. And I really don't understand that take whatsoever. I don't have a problem with someone making as much money as they possibly can. And for Tom Dundon, he literally is a self-made man. He wasn't born into money. He used to be poor, and then he struck it rich in business. And he's been able to parlay that into an NHL team and now an NBA team. So really, he's a great story. Now, I don't know much about his auto lending business. I know that there were some suits that he had to settle for, quote, predatory lending, with the high interest rate loans or whatever. But I could also look at that as an opportunity. He was giving people vehicles who needed cars. So, look, I don't have an issue with billionaires. I don't. In fact, a lot of them are great because they own big corporations. They own a lot of businesses that employ a lot of people. And we need more of those type of corporations in this state and around the area, in the city, because jobs are important, obviously. So I don't have an issue with billionaires. I don't have an issue with someone making a heck of a lot of money. And I just want to make sure that the owner of the Trailblazers has everything that they need to be able to function at a high level. And keep in mind, the building, the Moda Center, is owned by the city. They own it. Paul Allen sold it to him for $1. So I don't think it's asking too much that they renovate their building. I mean, come on, get with it, people. Losing the Trailblazers would be horrible, absolutely awful. But with Dundon, I have confidence that he's going to turn the Blazers into a winner because he's got a track record of success with the Hurricanes, who are on the verge of going to the Stanley Cup Finals. So if you got any thoughts on that, that'd be fine. 503-248-0620. If there's any smart business individuals out there who would like to share their take on how we can get the city turned around economically, and you want to share your take on that, feel free. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. And we'll have Hops Ticket Tuesday, a 4-pack for the Hops in their new ballpark coming up at 5 o'clock. Well, I think we should probably play the hits. The New York Knickerbockers are in the NBA Finals for the first time in 27 years. Pretty amazing. And I mentioned my daily dilemma. Are the Knicks a legit threat to either the Spurs or the Thunder? Or is it fool's gold because they just beat up on the Atlanta Hawks, the Philadelphia 76ers, and then they thrashed the Cleveland Cavaliers? They've won 11 straight. and have done so with pure dominance. But how much can we buy into that based on the competition they were playing? Now, they're going to get a lot of time off. And we saw what happened in that game one after a long layoff against the Cavs. They came out rusty and slow, and then they had that torrid come back in the fourth quarter and won the game in overtime. The finals don't start until June 3rd, so they're going to get more than a week off after sweeping the Cavs out, and they can sit back and watch and wait to see who they're going to face in the finals. My guess would be right now the Thunder and Spurs will go 7 games, and the Knicks will be able to heal, rest their bodies, and get ready. And I would much rather have the rest and go into the finals 100% healthy and feeling great, even at the risk of rust, than I would to come off a potential 7-game series. So I like where the Knicks are at. I just want to know if they've got what it takes to be able to win a series against San Antonio or Oklahoma City. I don't think so, but I'm starting to wonder because they're playing such great basketball right now. Well-connected, very good team. And I'll tell you how I'm an idiot. When they got rid of Coach Thibodeau and brought in Mike Brown, I thought that they were idiots. Like, what type of bonkers decision is that? Mike Brown? Are you kidding me? And yet it's worked. Mike Brown has come in and been able to hit the right buttons early in the playoffs, and they've coasted ever since, and now they're going back to the finals for the first time in 27 years. So credit to Mike Brown. I thought it was an idiotic decision to hire the guy and fire Tibbs, and it worked out perfectly. So the Knicks right now in a position to sit back and wait for the Spurs or the Thunder. Now for the Cavs, it's just been a bad week for the Cleveland Cavaliers. And I'm okay with that. Cleveland is, what are they, the armpit of America? Cleveland is a disaster. And their head coach, Kenny Atkinson, it was announced today that he's going to come back next year. He's a disaster. Let's just walk through the last week of some of the worst takes you're ever going to hear from a coach in any sport that you watch. And we'll start with the most obvious, the one that's getting all the play. As they were preparing for Game 4 yesterday, they were facing a 3-0 deficit. Keep in mind, no team in the history of the NBA playoffs has come back from a 3-0 deficit. Never happened. Kenny Atkinson was talking about expected wins. Analytically, we've won 2 of the 3 games. Take a listen to this masterpiece. And here's the great thing about being a coach. Sometimes you cross over that line to where you utter something that will be remembered forever. How many times have we seen this with coaches? You play to win the game, Herm Edwards. Playoffs, Jim Mora. And by the way, Jim Mora celebrated his birthday over the weekend. So I went through and looked up some of my favorite Mora meltdowns. He's got some absolute classics. They are who we thought they were, and we let them off the hook. Denny Green. You see what I'm saying? It's a beautiful thing. And now Kenny Atkinson, analytically, we've won 2 of the 3 games.
Analytically, I think we've won I said 3 out of 3. We're 2 out of 3 in the expected. I don't know if you guys follow that. There's an expected score. Then we won 2 out of the 3. And I know you're looking confused, but I'm not. There is really, if you believe in process and all that, like, man, so, take that layer. I know I don't throw that on them. I see it for myself. We have this feeling, I have this feeling, then I can go to our analytical table and be like, man, we are, I think last night it was, the expected score was like 1 point or 2. Us shooting way below expected, them shooting way over. I know no one wants to hear that. I think you guys like hearing it. I know, general public, no one wants to hear it. Everyone's outcome based. Sure, I get that too.
Yeah, we're all outcome based because it's professional sports, coach. There's a winner and a loser. The Knicks won 4 straight games and kicked your ass, and because it's outcome based, they're going to the NBA Finals. Your expected wins got you nothing, and now you're going home. I can't believe he uttered that with a straight face. Well, I had a feeling that we were playing pretty well. And so I go to the table, and guess what? Expected wins. Unbelievable. But that's just one sample of the week that Kenny Atkinson has had. Now, keep in mind, after game number one, they were up by 22 points in game one in New York with 7 minutes left in the game. You're up 22. It's probably a game you should win because you're dominating. But they didn't. They gave up a 30-8 run. They lose it in overtime by double digits. And after the game, he talked about his regret. And apparently he only had one. It had nothing to do with his team melting down or the fact that he left James Harden on the floor to get torched with his horrific defense on Jalen Brunson. Take a listen to Coach talking about his regret.
If my only regret, this can happen when you get a little fatigued, I think it just stopped moving. We were pinging the ball all over the place, great ball movement, and then it just got a little stagnant. And I told the guys, I said, we played great basketball the majority of the game. Just the ball stuck at the end there a little bit. Got to keep trusting the pass. But I'll also say we got a ton of great looks that didn't go in. So we'll look at it. I think decisions got to be better, especially when we get fatigued. Sometimes we tend to want to, put our heads down too much. Just got to find the open guy.
So his only regret after the meltdown in game one was the ball stuck a little bit. Okay, thanks, Coach. Appreciate that. Here he is saying that he was super proud of his guys after melting down in game one. They gave up a 30-8 run and got smoked in overtime, and yet the coach was super proud of his guys.
I thought they hit some really tough shots in that fourth quarter. Those 2 threes, prayer threes, end of shot clock. I think we got a little unlucky, quite honestly. Brunson obviously took over at the end, and we started double teaming them and try to do some different things. But listen, I'm super proud of the way our group played. We played great basketball tonight for 3 quarters. Unfortunately, fourth quarter, they dominated us in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, we know. You are a dum-dum. Here he is talking about James Harden and his defense. Now, keep in mind, Harden got smoked in game one in that fourth quarter by Jalen Brunson, who was headhunting him. Might have been a good idea to get him off the floor. Maybe a little wrinkle or 5 so that Jalen Brunson doesn't continue to hunt him and score at will. Here's what Coach had to say.
He's been one of our best defenders in these playoffs. I trust him. Smart, great hands. Didn't think about that.
That's amazing. I'm sure you didn't think about that. I know you didn't because you obviously don't think about much. Everyone watching the game and who's been watching the NBA now for a few years, what do we know about James Harden? Does not perform in the postseason, not a great defender, cannot be trusted. And yet, Kenny Atkinson trusts him and thinks he's been their best defender. He must have sat down at the analytical table again with the nerds, and they convinced him that Harden was doing just a fabulous job. I mean, come on, Kenny. Here he is after getting swept. No, wait, this is when they went down 3-0. He's just like, hey, you got to put the ball in the hole. What are you, Happy Gilmore?
We didn't shoot the ball well. I thought we had a lot of good looks. Good looks from 3. Good looks at the rim. I thought our process was right. Took care of the ball. Offensive rebounded. I think wasn't a great shooting night. At the end of the day, you got to put the ball in the hole.
All right, thank you. Really appreciate that, Kenny. Oh, here's that other Jim. After game number 1, instead of calling a timeout to maybe stop the bleeding, maybe a tourniquet timeout, none of that, right? He was asked about that, like, hey, Coach, did you think about calling a timeout when your team was getting smoked during that 30-8 run?
Yeah, I like to hold my timeouts. I mean, I didn't want to have one timeout at the end of the game, 1 or 2 point game. I try to hold them.
Yeah. I just held on to him, and then I took him back to the hotel, and I tried to sneak him back into game 2, hoping I could have extra timeouts. But that didn't work either. Hey, Coach, it's okay to call timeout when your team's getting bludgeoned to death, you moron. All right, what else? Oh, yeah, after the sweep yesterday, he thinks it was the fact that they lost 2 game 6s in the previous series, forcing game 7s.
I'll tell you what didn't help was losing those 2 game 6s. Haven't been in this, kind of a long time and seen this before. I think you have to take advantage of those opportunities. And the way the scheduling's set up in the league, and that's a whole nother topic I could go off on. You get on a hectic schedule, and that's not to say we win those games. We beat the Knicks. I'm not saying that, but I think it gives us a better chance. But I think the density of the frequency of the games, with it never had 2 days rest, the whole deal. Played a part in it. Definitely, I'm not going to say that's the reason we lost, but we would have had a better chance. I think we win. We take care of business in those game 6s. I think that's if I have one regret, 2 regrets, I guess you'd say.
Wow, this guy's clueless. And they're bringing him back next year. So get ready, because the Kenny Atkinson greatest hits are going to continue next season. You cannot say some of the stuff he said and keep your job, but yet he did. Unbelievable. Unreal. I'll tell you one way he won't keep his job is if the Cavs bring back LeBron. I mean, the coach killer himself is not going to want Kenny Atkinson hanging out talking about expected wins. I don't know. Maybe LeBron likes that kind of stuff. I have no idea. Unbelievable. You're down 3-0, getting your tail kicked, and you're talking about expected wins? Hey, Kenny, one of the greatest things about sports is that there's a winner and a loser. It's called a scoreboard. We don't give a rip about your expected wins or the conversations you have with your analytical nerds, all right? Your team did not play good defense. They blew a huge 22-point lead in game 1. And that's the other thing, too. Remember Donovan Mitchell? After they got smoked? This is what he had to say.
It's one loss. It's a bad loss, but all we can do is go back and watch the film and fix it. It's one game. We could have lost by 40. Still would have been 1-0. So just watch the film. We played, pretty solid for 3 quarters or so. We'll make adjustments and go from there.
All right, so we got the answer to that question. That was more than just one loss. When you blow a 22-point lead on the road in game 1, it counts as a couple of losses, and they could not recuperate from that. And it probably didn't help that Kenny Atkinson was talking about expected wins. Wow. Unreal. All right, 503-248-0620. We'll hear from James Harden. Donovan Mitchell said it was ass. I'll let you hear that, getting swept. Something that Cleveland is familiar with. All right, you got the Rip City Drive. Brian Berger at 420. Brad Bakken at 520. A 4-pack of Hops tickets to give away at 5 here on the Rip City Drive. All right, Rip City Drive. I was organizing my thoughts. Telephone number is 503-248-0620. 503-248-0620. All right, I was sent a message from someone that I respect that is tied in and has been to the NBA here in the Northwest for a very long time. And so I want to share some of the individual's thoughts without giving up the identity of the individual. But I want to give you some perspective. I really believe a deal is going to get done. I do not think the Trailblazers are moving. I've been saying that now for an extended period of time. And it really comes back to the NBA. The Sonics are going back to Seattle. Seattle will get expansion, as will Las Vegas. And I really think the NBA wants to have two teams in the Northwest. They want the I-5 rivalry with Seattle and Portland. And the Trailblazers have been a model franchise ever since their inception in the league. It's valuable to have a team in Portland in the Northwest as it will to have a team back in Seattle. There's no question about it. So I don't think the NBA wants to have the Trailblazers relocated at all. Now, if you want relocation, there are other places that would be better to relocate than Portland, which is a successful franchise. But I don't think in the end the NBA wants that to happen. All right, so here are some of the thoughts as we get ready to talk with Brian Berger coming up at 4:20. Here's what the individual had to say. Chad, I've said it over and over again that the Trailblazers are not moving. The NBA will do all it can to keep the Trailblazers here until Seattle officially gets an expansion franchise. There is no NBA north of the California border. The NBA is not sacrificing the longest-standing team in the Pacific Northwest region after 56 years for the likes of Raleigh, San Diego, Austin, Louisville, or any place else. Relocation fees paid to the NBA owners and Board of Governors are not as substantial as the expansion money they'll get when and if Seattle returns along with the new team in Las Vegas. Tom Dundon also has two other sizable investors in the ownership group who would have to agree with any relocation, one of whom grew up here and loves the Trailblazers. Negativity from folks poisons our local market and causes unnecessary panic. Remember when the Sacramento Kings were for sale with competitive bids to either move the team to Seattle or keep them in Sacramento. The final vote to stay in Sacramento was 26-4. The only reason Paul Allen voted to move the Kings to Seattle was because the potential buyer back then was his friend Steve Ballmer, new owner of the Clippers. Plus, Paul really wanted to see the Portland versus Seattle NBA rivalry renewed. The state of Oregon money is set for Moda Center renovation, and so is the investment by Multnomah County. All that's left is the Portland City Council. The new expanded format of the council is what makes this process more painful than it should be, but the Portland city government will come through. All right, so there are some thoughts. But yeah, I think everything's going to be okay. And I think the panic about Dundon is unnecessary because he's not an unknown quantity. Again, if you want to know what he's about, just take a look at the Carolina Hurricanes. He came in and took over a franchise that was a disaster, and now they're a perennial power in the sport, and they're on the verge of going to the Stanley Cup Finals. And this goes back to my basic definition of what makes or what you want in a sports owner of your team. Someone that wants to win, check, and someone that's willing to invest in his team to make that happen. And Dundon has said over and over again that there will be no budget for the players, the roster, or anything that the players need to be at their best. That's it. So he is the type of guy you want running your team because he will spend what is necessary to make the players, put them in a position to have success, and he wants to win desperately. That's a good combination. All right, we'll keep things rolling. Hops Ticket Tuesday at 5. Brian Berger coming up at 4:20. And then Brad Botkin talking Western Conference Finals, New York Knicks, NBA Finals coming up at 5:20. All right, it's now 4 o'clock. What's going on, my friends? The Knicks are back in the finals for the first time since '99 following a sweep of the Cavs. Here's Jalen Brunson after Game 4.
They give me the confidence. They let me be me. I think most importantly, we all believe in each other from top to bottom. It's an honor to play with them, honestly.
New York will get over a week off. The finals begin June 3rd. Western Conference Finals Game 5 tonight. Spurs at the Thunder. That series is tied up at 2. Jalen Williams listed as questionable. A.J. Mitchell will not play. OKC favored by 4.5. 5:30 tip on NBC. Las Vegas will look to sweep Colorado out of the Stanley Cup playoffs tonight. Puck drops at 6 on ESPN. The game's a pick'em. The NCAA has denied Texas Tech quarterback Brendan Sorsby's reinstatement. The school says they will appeal. Mariners at the A's tonight. Hancock's on the bump for Seattle. First pitch at 6:40. Brian Berger, Sports Business Radio at 4:20. Brad Bakken talking hoop at 5:20. Hops Ticket Tuesday at 5. All right, Rip City Drive. Well, I'll tell you, I saw The Mandalorian not once but twice over the weekend. I saw it on Thursday on opening night, and it was so good that I went back on Sunday to check it out. So if you're a Mandalorian fan, if you like Mando, if you like Grogu, you're going to enjoy the movie immensely. So I would recommend that you check it out. And the funny thing is I looked at and watched a number of different reviews on YouTube over the weekend. I cannot believe all of the hate that the movie is garnering. I don't know if it's because the Star Wars nerds are so hung up in the books and the different stories that they get. They can't see through the minutia. But as I mentioned before, when I go to the theater, I just want to be entertained. And I had fun. Nothing wrong with 2 hours of Mando and Grogu on different adventures. So I enjoyed it a lot. Michael Shacker went to see it, which shocked me because he's not a big theater guy, but he enjoyed it as well. So if you're down with Star Wars, if you like The Mandalorian, you're going to enjoy The Mandalorian and Grogu movie. You would have thought they could come up with a better title. The Mandalorian and Grogu. And where's the creativity at? That's the best you got? That sounds like a name I would come up with. It sounds like a radio show, The Mandalorian and Grogu. 3 to 6, afternoons on Rip City Radio 620. Come on, be better, people. But yeah, it's great. I enjoyed it. Very entertaining, very enjoyable, and I would recommend that you check it out. My daughter saw the Michael Jackson movie last night and says it was awesome. That was her quote exactly. How was the movie? Awesome. Thank you. You know, kids, you have to ask a lot of specific questions to get details on a variety of different things. How was your day today? It was good. All right, thanks. Glad we had that chat. All right, 503-248-0620. I got a message from my buddy Dave, and he says, hey, Chad, I'm with you. How did Kenny Atkinson ever get hired in the first place? It's really amazing that he is a head coach, and he's coming back next year. It just goes to show you how incompetent that owner, Dan Gilbert, is. Wow. I'm so happy the Blazers at least don't have an owner like Gilbert and a coach like Atkinson. Those two are made for each other. If not for the luck of getting LeBron, Cleveland would still not have an NBA championship and might never have one while owner Gilbert is there. Also, I feel as you do, that the arena renovation and 20 to 30-year lease should be finalized. I really blame the city council for dragging their feet and and a little concerned. What the city council needs to remember is that this is an investment in the city, not just for the Blazers, but the Fire. Worldwide concerts, Disney on Ice, monster trucks, etc., you name it. That's all benefits to the city How can some of the city council members not see what a slam dunk this is? Exactly. And in the end, I just don't think they have a choice. They're going to have to get it done. They'll drag their feet a little bit, but in the end, I think they'll get the deal done. There are some very smart people that are helping to advise, and I think they'll be able to get a deal done. And as I mentioned before with Dundon, I just want this matter to be settled so he can, really get into the trenches and start to, move this franchise forward, which is great. So I'm pretty excited about the future. I think it's a good time to be a Trailblazer fan. We'll get this lease deal taken care of, get the renovations set up. Motor Center will be even better. And now you've got an owner with direction who wants to win and will invest to make that happen. That is a beautiful thing. It's great. So Brian Berger will talk about Dundon and relocation coming up here at 4:20. He was on Yahoo Sports today. And I'm really, it's why I did it last week with the guy from the Sports Business Journal. I'm trying to give, a different perspective on Dundon. This guy I don't think is the villain that he's been painted to be. Just look at what he's done with the Hurricanes. They are a smashing success. He wants to win, and he's got the desire to work hard to make sure that that happens. And that's a good thing for us. Because all I want before I die is one title. I'm not greedy here. I just want one championship. One. I don't want expected wins. I want a championship that is earned on the court. I mean, can you imagine Kenny Atkinson coaching the Trailblazers after back-to-back home losses in games 3 and 4 when you were up double digits in both games? Well, expected wins, we should be up 3-1.
Analytically, I think we've won I said 3 out of 3. We're 2 out of 3 in the expected. If you guys follow that, there's an expected score. Then we won 2 out of 3. And I know you're looking confused, but I'm not. There is really, if you believe in process and all that, like man up. So, take that later. I know I don't throw that on them. I see it for myself. We have this feeling, I have this feeling, then I can go to our analytical table and be like, man, we are, I think last night it was, the expected score was like 1 point or 2. Us shooting way below expected, them shooting way over. I know no one wants to hear that. I think you guys like hearing it. I know, general public, no one wants to hear it. Everyone's outcome based. Sure, I get that too.
Yeah, it's outcome based. That's sports, Kenny. We don't care about your expected wins. We don't care about your analytic table, and neither do your fans. But at least he's coming back next year. That's very nice. Unbelievable. And the Knicks are on fire. They shot the ball extremely well, pretty much through the entire playoff run. They're back in the finals for the first time since '99. Madison Square Garden is going to be lit. And I have no idea who would be the better matchup for them. I don't think either team's a good matchup. Oklahoma City presents a number of issues. And then you've got the Wemby problem with San Antonio. How about Wemby with that half-court heave? If I tried a shot like that, it would airball. And when he shoots the ball, it's almost like he's shooting down at the basket because he's so flippin' tall. He was dominant in Game 4. A disappointing Game 3 for San Antonio, but they bounced back strong in Game 4. I like Oklahoma City to win at home tonight, but I'm a little concerned. I'm not so sure because of the injuries. A.J. Mitchell's been critical for them. I thought the Spurs did a much better job in Game 4 of defending Shai Gilgeous without fouling. They were aggressive but smarter in how they were defending. And the one thing I do respect about Shai, even if he does flop, he's not someone who's barking or whining at the officials. If he falls down and doesn't get the call, he just gets up and runs back down to the other end of the floor. But that should be one heck of a game tonight. Obviously, whoever wins the game tonight will be in the prime position to win the series. My guess is Oklahoma City wins tonight. San Antonio will win back home in Game 6, and then that will set us up for a spectacular Game 7. And frankly, this series deserves a Game 7. We deserve a Game 7. We need to see that. What would it look like with Wemby and Shea out there in a Game 7? So that's what I'm pulling for. We'll see if it plays out. The game's going to tip off coming up at 5:30. Telephone number 503-248-0620. But the Knicks, it's weird. Like, normally it's probably difficult for people, including myself, to openly cheer for and root for any team from New York. But this Knicks team is very likable. Jalen Brunson is an overachiever, really tough and strong, undersized guard who understands angles and can get to his spots and is a clutch-type player. Love him. Karl Anthony Towns, very likable guy. He's playing really well for them. Both Anunoby and Bridges, great two-way players, unselfish. And that's really what I like most about the way that they're playing right now. Unselfish. They're sharing the basketball. I mean, they were playing with purpose yesterday. And one thing I heard that was interesting, maybe it was on the broadcast, but what Mike Brown did before the playoff run is he showed video after they were knocked out by the Indiana Pacers last year of what their faces looked like, what their reactions were like when they were shaking the Pacers players' hands. He was trying to help them remember that feeling so that they could go out there and play with purpose this time around. And that's really what they've tried to do, is to go out and be better in each game and to play with purpose, to play for one another. And when you get that type of togetherness on a basketball team where guys are playing for each other and not themselves, this is what happens. And look at the different players who have stepped up. Landry Shamet is on fire. He missed 1 3. I think it was like 11 of 12 in the Eastern Conference Finals. But you get these role players like Alvarado, Shamet, and a cast of characters who come in with confidence and play extremely well. And that's what the Knicks have gotten. I love their starting five, but they've had a number of guys. Mitchell Robinson is great on the offensive glass. Rebounder, tough. Plays around the basket. Horrific free throw shooter, but even he serves a role for them. And he's able to come in and play effective minutes to give their bigs some rest, guys like Karl Anthony Towns. And credit to Mike Brown. I thought firing Tibbs to hire Brown was one of the dumbest things I've seen, and it's turned out to be a good move. But I like this group. I like this Knicks team. I haven't been able to say that about many Knicks teams over the years, but I like this group. And there's a lot of people saying crazy stuff like this is the best Knicks team of all time. It's like, you do realize that they've had 2 title teams, right? And their last title team back in 72, 73 had 7 Hall of Famers. And can we slow down with the best Knicks team of all time talk? Let's wait and see how they do in the finals. Now, Jalen Brunson, I saw this take today. I had to think about it. I'm not even sure if it's true. But if he were to win a title with the Knicks, that he would become a bigger star in New York than Derek Jeter. Is that possible? Interesting thought. All right, so Game 5, Thunder Spurs from Oklahoma City tonight, tips off at 5:30. We'll come back, and when we do, we're going to be joined by Brian Berger of Sports Business Radio, talking relocation, get his thoughts on Tom Dundon, the negotiations with the city, and what's it going to take for the council to get this across the finish line. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. 503-248-0620. I appreciate your time. Hope you're enjoying your Tuesday. Hope you had a wonderful long weekend, too, with Memorial Day. I certainly did. And Brad Botkin stopping by at 520 to talk ball. You got the Rip City Drive. All right, our next guest made some noise on Yahoo Sports today. Let's take a listen.
Is the Trailblazers' long-term future in Portland?
I think he's going to do everything in his power to move them. And it breaks my heart to say that because I used to work for the Trailblazers. I live in Portland. But this seems to be Sonics 2.0. And I think he's going to say all the right things. And at the end of the day, he's going to come with a pretty cutthroat deal for the state and the city. And when they don't make that deal, I think he's going to use that as his excuse to move the team. And the way it works with at least NBA Board of Governors is when you sit around that table, other owners are not going to stop you from doing what you want to do, like relocating, because if they want to do something in the future, they don't want you to vote against them. So they are very unlikely to vote against him to move. By the way, if he does relocate, there's a relocation fee attached to that. So all the other teams in the NBA would make money from Dundon relocating to a Nashville, a San Diego, someplace like that.
All right, from Sports Business Radio, my former colleague, Brian Berger, is on the Rip City Drive. Brian, good afternoon. Thanks for making time, buddy.
Chad, good to talk to you. We've known each other a long time. I know you love the Blazers. I do too. You know I'm a straight shooter, and you know who I've had on my show over the last 22 years. Commissioners, team owners. So I don't say things lightly like what you just played. And I think this is a mess. And there's a few different culprits here, Chad. There's Jody Allen and Burt Kold. There's the city of Portland. And there's Tom Dundon. And if you want, I can outline the responsibilities of each one and how we kind of got to this perfect storm situation.
Okay, let's start with Jody Allen and Burt Kold, who were running the trust after Paul Allen passed away. You know, it's been my understanding that Paul Allen never had any desire to sell the team to someone who would look to move them. So talk to me about the role that Jody Allen and Burt Kold play in this mess.
If you look at Herb Cole, who is the former owner of the Milwaukee Bucks, when he sold the Bucks to their current owners, he put a stipulation in the agreement that you could not relocate the team. There was no such stipulation put in the agreement to Tom Dundon. There was no such stipulation put in the agreement when Howard Schultz sold the Sonics to Clay Bennett, and we know how that turned out. I would have put a stipulation in there saying you cannot relocate the team. We're going to help you figure out a new agreement where you're going to keep the team in Portland for the next 20 to 30 years. It can't relocate. They could have done a lot more on their end to not leave it up in the air where it's now a battle of the city of Portland versus Tom Dundon. And I think you and I would both agree, I don't want to speak for you, but I don't have the most amount of faith in the city of Portland and the state of Oregon to negotiate a deal. And if you want, I'll tell you why.
Yeah, tell me. Well, I mean, I guess one of my first questions would be, has the council, the city, have they hired a negotiator to come in and help with this deal?
It's my understanding that they have not hired outside counsel, which is stunning to me. I worked for the Blazers back in the 90s when there were outside counsel on both sides of the table with Paul Allen and the city of Portland when they negotiated that agreement for the Rose Garden. And it was a long-term 30-year agreement. For the city of Portland to think that they know how to do a deal like this on their own is a really big red flag, in my opinion. And they, so far, have not been proactive. I mean, for instance, why has the city of Portland not written a public letter to NBA Commissioner Adam Silver saying, we have $600 million that we come to the table with. We're asking for a fair market deal, like Tom Dundon has said. We want in the deal that he cannot relocate the team for 20 to 30 years. And then we will unlock this $600 million and we will give Tom Dundon the revenues for the arena and the development rights around the Rose Quarter. None of this stuff has happened, Chad. So it's scary where this may be going.
Well, it was my understanding, I believe that the governor has had conversations and has been in touch with the commissioner. Now, I also understand that in order to get the money for the renovations for Moda Center, doesn't Tom have to agree to a 20-year lease to be able to get that funding?
I believe so. And the 20-year lease, again, there's different ways you can sign a lease. You can sign a lease. Like the lease they're in right now makes the team very portable. It's a 5-year bridge agreement that was signed, I think, a year ago. If you're going to unlock the full $600 million, certain things have to happen. But one of the things that has to be in this agreement is that you can't relocate the team. There's all kinds of legalities that even if you sign a 20-year lease, you can get out of it in certain ways. You have to have in there, like the previous agreement, the 30-year agreement that existed when Paul Allen signed it in 1995, you cannot relocate this team. That same agreement needs to be drafted this time around as well.
Yeah, I agree with that. You need to have that. And, the way it was explained to me is that you cannot allow any type of a buyout clause or anything of that nature in the lease once it's signed for 20 years or 30 years or whatever the agreement is. So let me ask you this. With the council, because the people I've talked to, they think the biggest stumbling block will be the council. And, obviously with the expanded council, it slows the process down. What do you think will be the biggest stumbling blocks or challenges for the city council as they try to get this across the finish line?
I think they need experts at the table. They need people who have done deals like this either in Oregon or in other states. These deals are pretty common now, and they need sports experts at the table who understand how to do a long-term arena lease like this, something that's binding where the team can't relocate, development rights around the arena. These are all things that I don't think the city can do on their own. And if they could do it on their own, Chad, why haven't they done it? Why haven't they been proactive and said, here's our offer, Tom Dundon, this is what we're offering you, and be proactive instead of reactive. Right now, it seems like they're being reactive to Tom Dundon. And then, it's your show. I'm not going to take over your show, but if you want to ask me why I'm concerned about Tom Dundon, I'm happy to answer that as well. We've talked about Jody and Bert. We just talked about the city of Portland. We haven't talked about Tom yet.
Yeah, what are your concerns about Tom? I mean, there's been a lot of reporting on him. Most of it has been negative. A lot of fans are concerned. Maybe some of them don't know. What are your thoughts on Tom Dundon, the successful owner of the Carolina Hurricanes, who is now in place as the principal owner of the Trailblazers?
I mean, I think it's great that he's successful with the Hurricanes, and it gives him credibility and it gives him faith. But the NBA is very different than the NHL, and typically it costs a lot more money to run an NBA team than it does an NHL team. I would ask, when someone shows you who they are, believe them. What has Tom Dundon done since he took over as owner of the Blazers to show you that he wants to do business in Portland? He's laid off staff. He's cut costs. He has not said, hey, I fully intend to keep the Blazers in Portland. I will sign a long-term agreement that allows for the team not to be relocated. I've heard his interviews that he's done on other platforms. I haven't heard him say that yet correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I haven't heard him say that exactly, but I wouldn't imagine he would come out and just flat out say that in the middle of a negotiation, right? Like, why would you say that now? If you're negotiating with the city trying to get a deal done that benefits you and is one that's workable, why would you come out and just automatically commit to that? Wouldn't you want part of it's negotiation, right?
Agreed. Yes, agreed. But when you do things like cut 70 people from the staff, some of those people too, Chad. And, one of the things that I've really taken notice of with the San Antonio Spurs and the New York Knicks is how many of the former players come around the team now and embrace the current players. The people that were just let go by the Blazers, Tom Dundon basically wiped out any connection to the past of the Trailblazers. That's very concerning. Will those players still come around? He's just doing things that show me he doesn't care about being in Portland long term, and that's concerning.
Well, what I would say about the layoffs, obviously there were layoffs and cuts when Paul Allen owned the team, but also isn't that just standard operating procedure? I know the Timberwolves, when they had the new ownership takeover last year, cut 40 jobs. Dundon comes in, and I believe that the Blazers had one of the highest operating costs on the business side in the NBA, but also the lowest corporate sponsorship dollars that were coming in. Wouldn't that be, in that standard operating procedure to come in and cut costs to try and get the business side in line?
God, I agree with you. And it is very common when new owners come in. A, they want to bring their own people who they trust. And B, they want to shape the organization as they see fit. I think when you cut as deep as he cut, and from people I've spoken to, there was no real rhyme or reason. It was a spreadsheet. It was who makes this much money. It wasn't, well, what does this person do for the organization? And what is this person's history with the organization? And what is this person's history with the past players and the legacy? It was just, let's just get to a dollar amount and cut. And I think that was a little heavy-handed, and it went a little too deep.
We're talking with Brian Berger from Sports Business Radio here on the Rip City Drive. Let me ask you this question. If the city is able to come to a deal and get this across the finish line, and it's one that Tom Dundon is happy with, do you think he's going to relocate the team or look to in the future if he gets the deal done?
Well, no. I mean, if you have in the agreement you can't relocate the team like Paul Allen did 30 years ago, then there's no discussion of it. It's in the agreement. You can't relocate the team. If you sign an agreement and it doesn't say you can't relocate the team, then you can relocate the team by paying penalties, as you outlined earlier. Like, there's ways that you can get out of that agreement. So if they sign an agreement and it says you can't relocate the team for the next 20 to 30 years, everyone's happy. And if he can't relocate the team and he doesn't want to be in Portland, I guess he would have to sell the team to someone who would keep the team in Portland, because you have a lease that you would inherit that says the team cannot relocate from Portland.
Well, Brian, Dundon would respond to you and say, well, when I took over the Hurricanes, people thought I was going to move the team to Dallas, but we're able to work with the local officials and get a deal done, and they signed a 30-year lease there to keep the Hurricanes in Carolina for an extended period of time.
I don't disagree with that either. I don't think he made the changes that he's made in Carolina that he's made here. I know he made changes, and I know he was critiqued, and, he changed coaches, and it's worked out really well for him. So, again, I think it gives him credibility. But, again, the NBA is different than the NHL. Portland is different than Carolina. Our city leaders are different than the city leaders in Carolina. So there's a lot of other variables. You can't say apples to apples.
I've been told for a few years now that the NBA does not want to relocate the Trailblazers, that they really want a team in Portland and Seattle because geographically it works really well for the league. What do you think the NBA wants? What outcome does the NBA want in this situation in your mind?
There's no doubt 100% the NBA wants the Blazers to stay in Portland. I mean, for a million reasons. A, they've been here for over 50 years. B, like you just said, they would have this rivalry now with Seattle, and they don't like when teams relocate. But this is what most people don't understand, is Adam Silver works for the owners. And when they gather around the Board of Governors table and they vote on something, like I said in that clip you played earlier, owners don't tend to block other owners on business initiatives. And I don't think the other owners would block Tom Dundon if he wants to move the team, if it comes to that. I think, hopefully Adam Silver would have backroom conversations with people to get a deal done. But at the end of the day, I don't think he's going to put the hammer down on Tom Dundon. If Tom comes to him and says, look, I tried everything in Oregon. This isn't working. I want to move the team. And then it gets put to a vote with the other owners, I don't think anyone's going to stand in his way. And that's the part where you hope it doesn't get to that point.
Brian, the one thing that I don't know how to solve the issue, but long-term it is a concern. Economically, locally, we're not in a good place because we don't have a lot of Fortune 500 companies in the area. And you've got the Blazers, the Timbers, and the Thorns, and now the Fire all competing for that corporate dollar to be able to help with their franchise. How do you reconcile that? Because I know the Blazers, Dundon said this, they were 30th, dead last in the league in corporate sponsorship dollars that came in.
It's a tough market. I mean, for all the reasons you just outlined, it's no secret in the last 5 years, the economy hasn't been the greatest here. And hey, you heard the press conference when Tom Dundon was introduced, just like I did. Someone asked him, why'd you buy the Trailblazers? And he essentially said, because it was the only NBA team for sale. He didn't say, because I love Portland and I want to do business here and I think we can, really grow this economy. He said, because it was the only NBA team for sale. So again, when someone shows you who they are, don't you have to look at them and believe them at some point? Everything that Tom Dundon has shown me so far shows me that he doesn't want to do business here in Portland unless it's under his terms. And that's where I worry about the city going to negotiations with Tom Dundon.
All right, so with the other potential locations, assuming that Las Vegas and Seattle get their expansion teams, and I believe that they will, I mean, these other places that are being mentioned, Raleigh or San Diego, Austin, Louisville, some of these other spots, Kansas City, I mean, would they really be better than a place that's got a 56-year history here in the Northwest in Portland?
That's the sad thing, Chad, is when you're Tom Dundon, you don't care about the history here. You care about what is the best agreement I can get for an arena, what's the best plot of land I can get for my real estate development, what is going to increase my franchise value the most. You don't care. Tom Dundon's an out-of-towner. He doesn't care about the Blazers as far as grow. He wants to grow it as a business for all the things that I just mentioned. I don't think he's going to lose any sleep if the best business deal for him is in another city. I think he's going to make that deal.
All right, Brian Berger, Sports Business Radio, is with us. So what are you going to be watching when it comes to the negotiations over the next couple of months between the Trailblazers, Tom Dundon, and the city council? Because the good thing is, I mean, the money is there, right? I mean, the state's already, fast-tracked this, so now it's up to the council. What are you going to be looking for?
Yeah, I mean, the council needs to get their act together. And if I were them, I would hire outside counsel. I would write an open letter, like I said, to NBA Commissioner Adam Silver and say, we're coming to the table with $600 million. We want to get this deal done. We're asking for a fair deal, which includes non-relocation as part of the agreement. And in exchange, we're willing to give Tom Dundon revenues from the arena, development rights around the arena. Like, you can go out there proactively, and then it's up to Dundon to respond. And frankly, it's a pretty fair deal that the city would be offering if they offer what I just outlined. I don't think there's any other city that would go, oh, that's crazy. Portland's asking for way too much. And now the ball is in Tom Dundon's court. And if he doesn't agree to those terms, roughly, then he's kind of the bad guy. Does he care about looking like the bad guy? I don't know. So far, he hasn't. But the city needs to be more proactive on this, and they need to hire outside counsel who have done deals like this before.
All right, Brian Berger, Sports Business Radio. Brian, I appreciate you taking time to join the show. And let me ask you a question because I want to feel old. How old is your daughter now?
21.
Oh, my God. Yeah. Jeez.
Yeah. How old is your son?
23.
Okay, we're old, Chad.
I know, man. We're getting old, dude. Well, hey, I appreciate your time, man. Keep up the good work, and we'll catch up again in the future, Brian.
Thanks, Chad. I appreciate you having me on.
You got it. There's Brian Berger, Sports Business Radio. We'll come back on the Rip City Drive, and I want to react to the conversation I just had. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. I got thoughts on the development in the land around the Moda Center because I've gotten some pretty good details on that. And again, keep in mind, the NBA, Adam Silver does a pretty good job of getting what he wants. They do not want the Trailblazers to relocate. And I think Tom Dundon is going to utilize his ability to negotiate right now. He's not going to come out and say, hey, no worries, everyone. I'm not going to move the team anywhere. He doesn't have to say that. He's negotiating. So things are going to get uncomfortable before they become clear, and that's okay. That's part of the negotiating process. So we'll react to that. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. You got the Rip City Drive. It's such a great guitar riff from Steve Lukather. All right, 503-248-0620. Bill Oram caught up with Tom Dundon and had a Q&A that he put out at OregonLive.com. I want to share a couple of the questions and answers with you. Bill Oram of the Oregonian. One of the questions he asked Tom Dundon, quote, the one thing that is directly impactful was the reduction of staff, 70-plus people last week. Why were such extensive layoffs necessary in your mind? Dundon's response, they have twice as many people as we have in Carolina, and my experience is that less layers gives people more accountability, and they do a better job. Then you know that you're getting a great job done, and you don't end up in a situation where many companies end up, which is everyone's looking around for somebody else to do it, complaining about what's fair and not fair. I've seen the job done really well with a lot of accountability, no drama, and a lot of, honestly, happiness. People are happier when they're busy and productive. That is the way I think things should be done, and more people just creates more problems, usually. I think Portland just had too many people. I just asked them to look at it, and I think they came to the same conclusion. We didn't run a budget or give them a goal of headcount. We just said, is this being done the right way? Is it efficient? Are people as committed and able to make an impact on the business every day? And if not, let's get it right so we don't have to talk about it again. Now, he also went on to say, this was mostly on the business side. The basketball, they're two separate businesses. Taking care of players is not. We don't have a budget for that. It's whatever it takes to put them in the best position to win. That's what we're going to do. The business, I'm going to run like you run every other business. Now, I do know with that statement from Dundon, from somebody that works within the Trailblazers, that I was told from someone that is pretty high up that, they thought the moves, the cuts were necessary. And this is someone that was impacted by that. Another question that Bill asked was, what challenges did you face in getting an arena deal done in Raleigh, and how did that process compare to what you were working through in Portland? Dundon's response, the Raleigh process was multi-year, and the difference was in Portland, a lot of the money is money that we generate. It's taxes that we create that the city and state are investing back in the building. That's a huge portion. In Raleigh, it was kind of hotel, motel tax money, and there was an opportunity to develop the area around the arena because North Carolina is growing. We're about to announce that we're going to build a big office building on that property, which has been just a parking lot. It's just a huge difference. They weren't creating taxes on people who work there and play there and then giving them back. They were actually taking money from outside of the building and investing it into the building and then giving us the rights to develop around the building. So this one, Portland, should have been easier to get done. Another question that Bill asked, but it does seem like it's more challenging, at least in Raleigh. It's felt like maybe more of the essential people were rowing in the same direction than it feels like in Portland. And Dundon's response to that, it seems like Portland's more political. It's more emotional. It's a more emotional subject. North Carolina has a fund to bring sporting events to the state. There's a lot of businesses moving in. They're lowering their income tax. They're doing a lot of things. They're in a different place in terms of economic development. There was a different philosophy. When I first got to Portland, it was suggested they needed a new arena. And I looked at it and said, well, the only way they could do a new arena is if they raise taxes. And I don't think they should raise taxes. It would be counterintuitive to raise taxes in a place that for us to be successful, we need the business climate to improve. We don't want to be a part of the problem. I think but the Trailblazers are last in sponsorship. That's a big part of the controllable revenue for the basketball team. We've got to try to solve the business problem. You've got to have companies. Companies have to thrive and want to grow. And we've got to help them grow by participating in our brand with these companies. If we did a new building and had to raise taxes to build it, we wouldn't be a part of the solution. And another question from Orem, when you hear concerns from the city councilors and county commissioners, do you feel like they're trying to renegotiate the deal, or is it that an expected part of the process? And Dundon's response, I don't know enough about their process. I know that we came in with an intention to do something that could just start moving forward immediately because the building is older and we do need to get it work, and time never helps deals. And now they have a choice. I would have thought it would be done by now, but they are elected to do their job, and they're going to do whatever they think is right, and then we'll respond to that. But I wasn't trying to get our best deal there. If you really want to get the best deal in life, there are other ways to do it than the way we're doing this. So we're trying to do something that could get done, and so we can move forward. Whoever these people are, if they weren't party to the original framework, I can't hold them to it, and I don't expect to. But if they want to make changes, then we'll just have to look at what those are and evaluate at that time. But I know time makes the deal harder, not easier. And another question, have people reached out to you on behalf of other markets that might want to? And Dundon said, I haven't talked to anybody else. Another question, when you buy a team, you inherit the history and the culture that comes with it. You said that you watched the Netflix Jailblazers documentary on the flight back to Raleigh. That was the first time you had seen it? Yes. What did you learn from that, and what is kind of your understanding of the culture and history of the franchise? And Dundon said, clearly they love their team, and I think that's true about sports in general. That's the whole reason we're attracted to it. You're getting to watch the best in the world, and you get to build a relationship with them because they're in your town putting the name of your city on their jersey. You create the emotional connection, and you have things to get passionate about and root for, and clearly that exists in Portland. What I didn't like about what I saw in the Jailblazers documentary is that it's one thing to be frustrated and not like to lose, but these are human beings, and I think it's so easy for people to forget that these are real people with real feelings and emotions. They don't want to lose either. So I don't know if it's just a documentary, it's just a movie, but to the extent that it feels like people are very quick to find negatives and turn on people they say they love or cheer for one day and boo the next. All right. So a great piece from Bill Oram. There's a couple of excerpts for you. But I do think a deal is going to get done. The NBA does not want to relocate the Trailblazers. I think Tom Dundon's in the middle of a negotiation right now, trying to get the best deal for his team. And I think the city council, as challenging as the process is for them, I think they'll get it done. And then we can get back to focusing on basketball. All right, I've got a 4-pack of tickets for the Hillsboro Hops, so you can check them out in their brand new ballpark. And if you haven't been there, it's spectacular. We're going to give away a 4-pack next. You got the Rip City Drive. Brad Botkins coming up at 5:20 to talk ball on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. Yeah, the New York Knicks are going back to the NBA Finals for the first time since '99.
We had different expectations for ourselves. We knew that our team was capable of doing this. So all we had to do was just put the work in, continue to believe in each other, continue to sacrifice, continue to believe in the man above. We'll take care of the rest.
That's
That's what we did, and
Towns.
that's why we're here right now with this trophy.
Following the sweep in Game 4 yesterday, they're going to get over a week off. The finals will kick off on June 3rd. Western Conference Finals Game 5 coming up in a half hour. The Spurs are in Oklahoma City to take on the Thunder. Series tied up at 2. Jalen Williams is questionable. A.J. Mitchell will not play. And the line has continued to drop. Oklahoma City favored by 3.5. Vegas looks to sweep out Colorado from the Stanley Cup playoffs tonight. That puck will drop at 6 on ESPN. The game right now is a pick-em. NCAA has denied Brendan Sorsby's reinstatement request. Mariners are at the A's tonight. Hancock on the bump for Seattle. That first pitch coming up at 6:40. Baby, just how you feel. Yeah, this song here takes me back to summer times at Grandma's house in Ponca City, Oklahoma. And my grandma, my mom's mom, they had a house on the outskirts of town, and it was set up close to the Conoco refinery. And they ended up selling the house to the Conoco refinery. They had to buy up a bunch of land because of some, gas issues. But the best part is on where they lived, and they're still there, these old brick streets, not even paved streets, but bricks. And, of course, during the summertime, we'd run around barefoot all the time. And I remember the pavement being hot as HE-double hockey sticks, those little bricks. But there was a little corner market that was a couple of blocks away from Grandma's house. So she'd give us some, change, and we'd roll down there to get some candies, usually the little candy rings and some candy cigarettes. But inside of that little quickie shop, they had a jukebox. And it was awesome because we get our candy, and then we go load up the jukebox. And we played Van Halen Jump. I mean, I thought we were going to break the record in that darn thing, but it was awesome. Loved the jukebox. Was it a quarter? I think it was a quarter to play a song. So we'd get our candy, sit down, and, it was hot outside, but, of course, air conditioned inside of the little Quickie Mart. But that jukebox was money. And that was like a treat unto itself to be able to walk a couple of blocks down to the corner mart and get some candy, load up on the sugar, and be able to hit the jukebox. Of course, the young guys out there right now are like, what's a jukebox, for crying out loud? My Uncle Gordon's got a jukebox as well. He's got it set up in his home in Colorado Springs, and it plays 45s. He's a huge Elvis fan, so a lot of Elvis music in there, but I was able to give him a couple of 45s to put in there as well. But every time I visit Uncle Gordon, he'll turn the jukebox on for me so I can play some records. Love that. I just thought that was amazing. I was like, dude, you got a jukebox? That's one thing I would get. Like, if I had a game room, like if I had what do they call those things, a man cave, I definitely want a jukebox where I could play some music. I just think that's pretty sweet. But that was the thing back in the day, where they go to a Pizza Hut, the Quickie Mart in Ponca City, I think the Denny's Diner. The funny thing is about the Denny's Diner, it's like, no, it's just a Denny's with the jukebox in it. That doesn't necessarily qualify as a diner, but we'll take it. I love playing those things. You go through and pick out the songs. Let's see, I'll play a little Alabama, play some Michael Jackson, and give me Van Halen Jump. All right, 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. Brad Bach and CBS Sports coming up here at 520. You remember the candy cigarettes? They had little candy rings, and they had like the candy bracelets that you would wear around your neck, and you would just munch the candy off of the string with your teeth. They had bubblegum cigars, too. I don't know why we thought that was cool to have candy cigarettes. I was just amazed they sold it, but they came in like little packages, like an actual container of cigs. That's the one thing we've done that's good as a country. We have somehow turned smoking into something that's not cool. I played golf last week in the morning with a really nice guy, and he actually asked me midway through the round, he goes, "Do you mind if I smoke?" And I just told him, I said, "You do what you got to do." Golf's a stressful game. If you got to burn a heater right now, you do it. All right, Hillsboro Hops Ticket Tuesday kicks off right now. If you did not know, they have a brand new ballpark, Hillsboro Hops Ballpark. It's spectacular. It feels like a big league ballpark. The attention to detail, the food offerings, there's not a bad seat in the house. It is truly spectacular. And if you have not been there, I want to give you an opportunity right now to be able to win some tickets. And if you have been there and it was so awesome that you want to go back, then you can do it right now. We're going to do it every Tuesday throughout the baseball season where you can sit in the Rip City Radio row. And we'll do this in honor of, let's see here. Who is it? He doesn't have a number. All right, we'll take caller 7 right now. If you want to go check out the Hillsboro Hops, I got a 4-pack of tickets for you right now. A game to be determined in the future. I don't have a specific date for you, but just call 503-248-0620. Caller 7 in honor of John Elway. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. Fire away. I want to hear from a baseball fan. If you want to see the Hops, simply call 503-248-0620 right now. 503-248-0620. Caller 7 will get a 4-pack of tickets for the Hops. 503-248-0620. Call now! Your chance to be at a brand new ballpark, Hillsboro Hops Ballpark, 503-248-0620. Hit it up right now, and we're going to do it each and every Tuesday throughout the baseball season. So if you don't win today, you will have your opportunity every Tuesday throughout the baseball season. All right, let's go out to Pat. Pat, I appreciate the call. What's on your mind, my friend?
Hey, Chad, it's been a while. I was really interested in what you're talking about, Tom Dundon. First of all, he's in a good situation. If this thing, if he doesn't get the deal he wants, he can always, he can always sell the team or move it somewhere. He's in a no-lose situation, I think. Also, one thing you need to be concerned about in this guy is the kind of businesses he was in the past. He was in subprime car lending, and that's one of the scummiest businesses that I know of in this country. And he made $1 billion doing that. And that shows you that he doesn't give generally a darn about the people that he's doing business with. And he doesn't know anything about Portland. And but I tell you one thing I am surprised about, though, Chad, is like in the NFL or most of the NBA, they don't want people that need to make money off these teams. They want people they can use these as a plaything, as something fun and extra in their life. They want people that rich. I don't think Tom Dundon's that rich. I really don't, to be able to do this. I think he went in this to be a hard-nosed business person, and I don't think that the NBA or especially the NFL has any want for people to come in and be hard-nosed business people. They want to be able to freely spend on this as a plaything. They don't want people in there that's designed just to make money on it. What do you think about that, Chad? That's how I see it.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Pat, for the phone call. First off, with Tom Dundon, there were people that said the same thing about him when he purchased the Carolina Hurricanes, that he had no connection to the local area, that he was from Dallas. He was going to move the team to Dallas or somewhere else, moved the team to Texas, and he didn't. He got a deal done. And keep in mind, he took over the franchise when they were in dire straits. They weren't making money. People weren't showing up. The franchise was a mess. But he decided to keep the team there. And it's worked out perfectly. He got a deal done. And the team's been a smashing success. And everyone thought he was going to move the team when he bought the Hurricanes. But he didn't. He kept them there. And I have no issue with an owner, if his home base is in Dallas or wherever he chooses to have a home base. I'm not too concerned about that. Paul Allen, I doubt Paul spent a lot of time in Portland during his entire tenure with the Blazers. When you have big money, you can be wherever you want to be. And I have no issue with that. Paul was more of a Seattle guy, wasn't he? Than a Portland guy. So it wasn't like he had direct ties to Portland. He loved the Northwest. I think that's why people were so concerned about the Blazers going to Seattle is because of Paul's connections to the Seattle area. But that never happened. But people thought the same thing about Tom when he bought the Hurricanes. Now, what we got to keep in mind here is that, one, there is a deal that's in place. And the money is in place for Dundon to get the dollars that are required to be able to get the improvements done to Moda Center. I mean, this has been pretty well fast-tracked, and now it's just up to the city council for the final approval to get this deal done. And every single person I've asked, if the deal gets done, is Dundon going to look to move the team? And they've all said the same thing, no. I think what scares people the most is that when you have any type of change, and in this case, a new owner come in for the first time in 30 years, it's scary because you don't know them yet. But here's what we do know about Tom Dundon. He bought a team in Carolina. Everyone said he was going to move the team. He did not. He got a deal done. And now he's providing jobs and building up the area around the arena there in Carolina. He's made that situation better, and he's turned them into a winner. And now he's purchased the Trailblazers. Everyone's saying that he's going to move the team or has a fear that he's going to move the team. But there's a deal in place. And here's the thing about that area around the Moda Center. I can't give up specifics because I was sworn to secrecy, but I can tell you that there are really smart people in the business community that have been in communication with Dundon for quite some time with some grandiose ideas on how to build up the area around the Moda Center to finally make it a destination point. And based on what I've heard, this would make it a destination point. So that gives me hope, is that there are smart people, business-minded individuals who are willing to work with Dundon to be able to get this area built up, to make it a destination spot. And so that gives me confidence. I also know that the NBA has no desire to move the Trailblazers out of market. They do not want to relocate the Blazers. They want to have a natural regional rivalry with Seattle and Portland. It's good for the league. It's good for the schedule making. It makes a lot of sense to keep a franchise that's been here for 56 years in place. The NBA does not win by relocating the Trailblazers. And the crazy part is Dundon's been on the job for, a couple of months? Now, the cuts, the layoffs, they suck. Anyone losing their job, I hate to see it. And I know and respect so many of the people that were let go. These are people I really care about and enjoy working with. And so I hate to see them lose their job. But it's not like this is something new. People take over a business. They usually go through cuts to tighten up the business side. I don't think it's an indication of Dundon not having any ties to Portland. It's just a business owner coming in, wanting to tighten up the books. And the Blazers organization was really large in comparison to other cities in the league based on the corporate dollars that are coming in. And as I've said before, when you buy a team and you take on that type of risk, you've got the rights to be able to restructure it however you see fit. But again, the most important thing is he wants to win, and there's no budget, as he stated on more than one occasion, for the basketball side. He's going to spend to win because he wants to be successful. All right, we'll come back. We got to talk some hoop. Are the Knicks a legitimate threat to win the title? Who's going to come out of this Western Conference final? Brad Bakken, CBS Sports, is coming up next on the Rip City Drive. No, we're about 15 minutes away from tip-off with the Spurs and Thunder. Your telephone number is 503-248-0620. Hope you're enjoying your afternoon on this, Tuesday? We had the nice long weekend. I saw The Mandalorian not once but twice. It was awesome. So if you're a Mandalorian fan, I think you'll enjoy the movie without question. And once again, I can't give up the specific details because I was sworn to secrecy. In fact, the gentleman who gave me some information said, if you share this specifically or my name, I'll never talk to you again. No problem, sir. I got you. But I do know that there are very smart business-minded individuals who have been working with Dundon, coming up with some very creative ideas on how to redevelop the land around Moda Center. And based on what I heard is that it would make it a destination spot, and there would be great ways to generate revenue for the city. It'd be a very good situation. So I'm confident when you know that there are smart people who have done a lot of deals like this to get something done that would be viable for not just Dundon and his crew, but also the city of Portland. And in the end, the council will get this done. I mean, the money is there. They just got to work through their process, which anytime you're dealing with bureaucracy, it's never going to be smooth. And that's okay. All right, I want to play a clip because there are two things on social media over the last week that it might kill me. It might cause my brain to just break. Michael Wilbon said something on his show on ESPN that I did not think was controversial whatsoever, and it turned into a firestorm on social media. Take a listen to Michael.
I know you're younger than me 10 years, Stephen A. I know you're old enough to remember John Elway. I know you are. Because Aaron Rodgers in no way measured up physically to the talent that John Elway had. Never in his wildest
ridiculous.
Did he measure
that
up
is ridiculous.
physically to John Elway. You need to go get YouTube or Google
No, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Stephen A.
I'm not 20, 30 years away from you. I've watched
3 of which had no all-pro teammates. Stop it. Never John Elway.
I didn't say resume. Let me tell you something.
You said talent.
Accuracy.
Never.
Talent. In terms of accuracy throwing that damn football, you trying to tell me Aaron Rodgers?
That's not quarterback. That's passer. He wasn't Dan Marino when it came to passing. Not Dan Marino when it came to passing.
I did not say.
He's a terrific quarterback. He was right there. He ain't John Elway. Stop it. He ain't Joe Montana.
I'm going to show you respect. I'm going to let you finish. Let me tell you something right now.
All right, there you go. I agree with that 100%. As great as Aaron Rodgers is, he does not measure up physically to John Elway, who, in my estimation, is the most physically gifted quarterback in the history of the league in terms of arm strength, mobility, size. He had everything you want in a quarterback. And somehow those comments transitioned into social media to now there's this idea that John Elway was overrated, which of course is insane. I also saw a clip, the first 3 minutes of Game 7 of the 1998 NBA Finals with the Utah Jazz and the Chicago Bulls in MJ's final game with the Bulls, where people are now cracking on the NBA from the 90s and talking about how the 26 Thunder or the 26 Spurs would annihilate either the Bulls or Jazz from that era. I guess what drives me crazy is people who have not seen some of these teams or players from the past telling me what the teams from today would do against them. It's why I shy away from commenting on the players that came before me. I never saw Wilt Chamberlain play, but based on the people that did and that I've talked to, they say he was the most dominant. I don't know. I don't really have a take. I acknowledge that he was phenomenal, but I never saw him play. I wish I could have. Even today, I got into it with someone on social media. There's an idea that this Knicks team this year is the best Knicks team of all time. And they have 2 title teams, and the one in 72, 73 had 7 Hall of Famers. So it's just crazy to me how people are so quick to forget the past or forget history. Oh, my goodness. It just makes my brain hurt. Aaron Rodgers is great, but I think John Elway is a far superior quarterback, even though the numbers do not indicate that. And, of course, now we're in such a ring culture where if you don't have a championship, you're almost excluded from any of the conversation that's out there. But do keep in mind that there's a lot of this going around, and a lot of it centers around the LeBron MJ GOAT debate. Just be aware of some of the people you listen to and the narrative that they're pushing. And I'll give you an example. Like Nick Wright from Fox Sports, he's represented by Clutch Sports, which, of course, is a LeBron entity. All right, let's go out to the phones. Let's go to Pat in Portland who wants to chime in. Pat, I appreciate the call. What's on your mind, my friend?
Hey, I hope you had a good 3-day weekend.
I did. You too. Hey, hold on. How was your birthday?
Yeah. It was awesome.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I wished you a happy
I'll
birthday.
Tell you what, man, you got me good.
Hey,
you
hold
really
on.
did get me good after I got off the air.
Hey, I wished you a happy birthday on your birthday because you told me the day before, and the next day I wished you a happy birthday.
Yep. Yeah. But nobody showed up, thank goodness.
That's right.
Hey, want to talk about this whole thing with the Blazers, and the talk about moving and everything. And, I think about this, and granted, when government's involved, there's always going to be dragging feet, and everybody's got the greatest idea of how to solve it and everything. But I think that it would be in the best interest of the NBA to keep both teams here, with the Seattle getting a new expansion team and now Portland staying here. And that would help a lot of teams with their travel and being able to come up here and have a 1-2 game, with both teams, and then go to L.A. or vice versa. And I think the NBA would love it because it would cut down on that long travel time.
You're right. I agree, and they do. The NBA wants a team in Portland. They want a team in Seattle. There's no question about it. Absolutely.
Yep. So, I just think we need to just sit back and let this thing play itself out, and let's worry about what the owner is willing to do about putting a team on the floor and get us a good coach, because those things are a lot more important than worrying about, where's the team going to play in 3 or 5 or 10 years. I mean, granted, it's important, but we need a team that's going to be out there bringing a crowd into this arena every night. So,
yeah, no doubt. Well, Pat, I appreciate it, buddy. I'm glad you had a great birthday. And I think what he was referring to, thank you, Pat. What he was referring to is that I offered, because I'm all about making people happy. I care about people. I offered to come over and dance for him in my birthday suit if he needed that for his birthday, because I'm willing to do that. I'll make sacrifices to make people happy. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. Spurs and Thunder coming up in just a few minutes, which is going to be awesome. But I know a lot of people are freaking out right now. But the reality is that, one, the Trailblazers, and I believe this now for a few years, they're not going to move. I don't buy it for a second. One second. I'm responding to Brad Bakken. We reached out to him, and Brad is so cool. He said, bleep, I'm sorry, I didn't have my phone by me. I'm here if you need me. And I said, how about tomorrow so we have more time? Okay, talking ball. I realize this is horrendous radio, but bear with me, please. Okay, now I've got it set up. So Brad Bakken will join us tomorrow. Okay, so going back to the discussion on the Trailblazers. I've really thought this for a few years. I don't think the Blazers are going to move. I don't think the NBA wants that to happen. I don't think that's Adam Silver's grand plan. And Adam Silver is very good at getting what he wants, just like we've seen with expansion. So I think the Blazers, right now, we just got to wait for the city council to get it done. And I've taken the same approach to this whole process with the council. You know, the state and the city got on board pretty quick. Now it's the council's job. You know, what other choice do they have? Are they going to not get a deal done and allow the Blazers to walk? How does that make sense? Why would you not want to make Tom Dundon happy? I realize that they have to answer to their constituents, but politicians want to do what's going to get them favor and votes moving into the future. Losing the Trailblazers when you're on watch is not a good way to go about it. So there's incentive for them to get a deal done, not to mention the potential outcome if the Blazers were to leave, how devastating that would be for the city. We're already struggling right now as a city. Losing an NBA team would be devastating based on everything that the Blazers bring, not to mention having the renovations done to the arena to where we can continue to have world-class events here in the city. It's critical. The good news is that Las Vegas and Seattle will get their expansion teams. And for Tom Dundon, as I mentioned before, he bought the team in Carolina. Everyone thought he was going to move the Hurricanes. He did not. He got a deal done locally, and now the team is thriving. And very successful, by the way, as they are now 2 wins away from getting to the Stanley Cup final, which is pretty awesome. The other thing you have to remember is that with the city council, they've got the new expanded format, and that's, of course, slowing the process down. But everything is there. The money is in place. And the council's just got to get it done, and I believe they will. But there are some grandiose plans for the Rose Quarter area to where you could, revitalize the entire spot and make it a destination point. There's smart people working on that right now. And, Tom Dundon, he's been pretty straightforward. I believe it. It's like, hey, if we get a deal done, this is all, there's nothing to worry about. They get the deal done for the funding to get the improvements done to the arena. They're not going to have to worry. All right, so this game's getting ready to tip off now, Thunder and Spurs. Who do you like? I was pretty adamant, I thought, going into Game 5 that Oklahoma City would win. I'm a little concerned about some of the injuries, though, especially without A.J. Mitchell, who's been critical to them. The Thunder have more depth, but I thought the Spurs really did a much better job in Game 4 of defending without fouling. And, of course, the big question mark, like it always is that, the three ball. I think the Thunder hit 6 threes in Game 4. If they're not making threes tonight, they're going to be in trouble. And Victor Wembanyama, it's very simple. In the 2 games that the Spurs have won, he has dominated the paint. It's going to be critical for the Spurs guards to continue to play downhill and get opportunities to Wemby in the paint. Because when he's in the paint and he's got his position and he's around the rim, he's unstoppable. But if you have him in that mid-range area, he's easier to defend. And he doesn't really have the go-to move yet. And the Knicks, as I mentioned before, they get a chance to rest, heal up, and they're not going to play a game until June 3rd. How crazy is that? And they'll be on the road either in San Antonio or Oklahoma City. And they'll be an underdog to either team in Game 1. But with the Knicks, like before, I thought it was an impossibility. Now, based on how they're playing, I just wonder, they may have a chance to win an NBA championship. But it's hard for me to know exactly what they're all about because of the competition they faced. And that's not a knock on the Knicks. They've been unbelievable. Love watching them play. But I also have to acknowledge that they steamrolled a bunch of bums. No disrespect to the Hawks, the Sixers, or the Cavs. But the Hawks, of course, limited in what they could do. The 76ers are a disaster, and Joel Embiid was a non-factor. They steamrolled them. And then the Cavs, I don't know what was going on with them. They couldn't make shots. They were probably fatigued after back-to-back 7-game series, and the Knicks clowned on them in 4 games. So we'll see. The conventional wisdom has been that whoever wins this series, Spurs or Thunder, going to cruise to victory in the NBA Finals. I guess what I'm saying is I'll be pulling for the Knicks to win the championship now. I never thought I'd be in a position to do that, but that's where I'm at. And it's because I love Jalen Brunson. And I like Mikal Bridges. I like OG Anunoby. They got a lot of likable guys on their team.
Sharp play.
Very,
Sharp play.
very likable guys. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. And it looks like the closing line going into the game tonight, 3.5 to 4, Oklahoma City favored. So we'll see how things shake out. But it's been a compelling series, but I want 7 games. So I hope the Thunder win tonight. Spurs get the win in Game 6, and then we have a Game 7 over the weekend, which would be awesome. It's pretty obvious, but if Oklahoma City were to drop the game tonight, there's a good chance they're done, and San Antonio would close it out in 6. But tonight's the key game. I think whoever wins the game tonight's going to win the series. That's just kind of how I see it going down. So we'll see how it shakes out. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. We'll get a bonus segment tonight at 6. And I'll be joined by the Hops broadcasters. I think Rich Berg's going to join. Maybe Matt Rickert. But we'll get a chance to talk to them as we get ready for Hops baseball tonight. I appreciate your time. I hope you're enjoying it. Brad Bakken tomorrow. I think the Godfather Dwight Jane is going to stop by tomorrow. I was out in Canby this weekend. I did a practice round with the Godfather's wife, Nancy, as we're getting ready. In a couple of weeks, we have a couples Chapman tournament coming up out at Willamette Valley. So we did a practice round, and it was awesome. So I think the Godfather, Brad Bakken, definitely tomorrow at 5:20. All right. Got the Rip City Drive right here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. All right, right now the Spurs have an early 11-6 lead with 7 minutes and 20 seconds to play in the first quarter. Let's go out to the phones. John wants to chime in. John in Portland. John, I appreciate the phone call. You're up on the Rip City Drive. What's on your mind?
Yeah, well, I hope the Spurs win because they beat the Blazers, so maybe it'll be like, I don't know, some kind of a payback. But, hey, I was just going to ask you, have you had a chance to see the Fire play yet?
I have not, but I plan on going here in the very near future, and I can't wait to get there because the people I've talked to that have been in this Moda Center for the game says it's a great atmosphere. Have you been?
No, but I was watching the Knicks and Cavs last night, and I was flipping over to watch the Fire. They were the underdogs playing New York, and in New York, and they were down. They got down probably as far as 10 points behind, but they kept clawing back. Defense was just incredible, and they ended up pulling it out, and it was just a great game, very entertaining.
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing. They performed much better early in the season as an expansion team than what I would have expected, which is nice.
Yeah, I think they've surprised a lot of people.
Yeah,
anyway, I just was curious if you'd seen them play.
No, I mean, I've watched them, but I've not been to a game. But the biggest thing I want to do is get to Moda Center for a game so I can check out the atmosphere. And the cool thing is I have a daughter that I think has interest in going to check out the Fire in person, so it'll be something we can do together, which is cool.
Excellent.
What else you got going on? What else you got going on this summertime, John?
Well, I think I might go up to the lake, do a little fishing this weekend. I'm hoping.
Now, what type of fish are we talking?
Just trout.
Oh,
just trolling for trout in the boat, just kind of kicking back, and yeah, it's fun. I enjoy eating fish too.
Oh, me too. Yeah,
You're Norwegian.
Oh no, I hear you, man. I miss those days when I grew up in Oklahoma. We had we lived close to Keystone Lake, so there was good bass and crappie fishing, and then I had a pond that was on our land, and I would go down and I'd take my rod down there, and I'd catch bass and crappie and take it back up to the house, and my dad would clean them, and my mom would fry them. Man, it was good eats.
Yeah. Hey, if you ever get out this way, I still want to treat you at my wife's food cart. It's Captain's Galley Fish and Chips. So.
Well, whereabouts is that exactly?
We just relocated about a month or two ago, and we're right across from the what's it called? The big restaurant. God, it slips my mind. The restaurant right across the street. It's right in the heart of Gresham on Burnside, but right next to Scrubby's Car Wash, and there's a small food cart pod there. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, John. I'm going to. What I'll do is I'm going to text you, so that way we can connect on a time to be able to meet out there. I'd like to check it out. That sounds like a good idea. So I'll text you, and then we can set up a time.
Gourmet clam chowder. Yeah, sounds good, brother.
All right, man. Appreciate you, John. That's my man, John, right there, out there doing good work. Yeah, the fishing. I miss those days. Gosh, it's amazing. Like, I still wonder, like, if we wouldn't have moved to Colorado, because I lived in Oklahoma until I was 9. Spurs up 18-13, 4 minutes to go first quarter. Okay, so I lived in Oklahoma until I was 9. I often wonder, like, I've talked to my dad about this, like, what would I be doing now had we not moved from Oklahoma? Like, I'd probably be in, like, the rodeo or something. Have a gigantic belt buckle, those kind of things. Because growing up in the country was enjoyable as a kid. I don't know if I respected it. I think I loved it, but I don't think I appreciated it as much as I should have, because being out there in the country away from a lot of people, we had land to roam around on, but I really enjoyed the fishing. And the cool part was having the lake. Like, these are all places. We had the dirt trails that led down to the lake. I knew where the different fishing holes were, where there were a lot of good fish. And I had my own rod. And normally I'd have a spooner on there. You could have a spooner or a jig. I didn't like dealing with, like, the minnows. It was too messy. But I would go down to the pond because we had, like, 10 acres. And so right at the bottom, it was like my happy place, a pond. And I would take a bucket down there. I'd have my rod, and I would catch fish all the time. I don't even know where the fish came from. I don't know who stocked it, how they got in there. But I would catch fish, bass and crappie. And then I would take I had this awesome Daisy pellet / BB gun. It was like a dual purpose gun, shooting things all day. But when you're out in the woods, it doesn't matter. But I'd pop bullfrogs, and if I collected bullfrogs, I would take those, and my mom would make frog legs. And this is stuff I would do for hours on my own with no one around. No one was texting me. You know, my parents didn't have live 360 to know where I was at to, be like helicopter parents. I was just out on the shores of the pond fishing and bringing stuff home that I could have mom fix up to eat. The only thing my dad told me, I think I mentioned this before, he said, watch your back when you're on the shores of the pond because the water moccasins and the cottonmouths and the copperheads are looking for a pathway. You don't want to block them. You don't want to get bit in the keister by a poisonous snake. But yeah, my brother and I would go down there all the time. I think he skipped a BB across. He shot me in the leg with a BB gun by accident. It skipped across the pond and whacked me right in the thigh. It broke the skin. I screamed, and he fell down in laughter. He was laughing his ass off. It was kind of funny. But yeah, it was great. Those were the good old days. I think the biggest bass I brought home, this is when I was like 7, 22, it was like 3 pounds and 22 inches. I thought I was the man. But yeah, those was a big fish. It was cool, though. And then my mom she'd fry them up or cook it however we wanted. But yeah, this is a long time ago. My dad had these cans. We were burning our own garbage. It's just a different life back there. We had our own water well. And we had chickens that I would take care of. I had a baby chick that hatched, and then a fox got it. We had ducks. I had my horse, Charlie. And the good old days. All right, we'll come back, and I'm going to be joined by Rich Burke and Matt Rickert as we get ready for Hops Baseball here on Rip City Radio 620. And I appreciate your time. Hope you're enjoying your Tuesday. You got the Rip City Drive on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. All right, tonight the Hillsborough Hops getting ready to kick off a set with the Everett Aqua Sox at Hillsborough Hops Ballpark. And joining us now, Rich Burke and Matt Rickard, who are at the ballpark right now. Guys, welcome to the show. What's up?
Hey, Chad, are you hearing us?
I am now, yes.
How are we sounding?
You sound a little different, but it's okay.
Yeah, we were just doing some troubleshooting and didn't actually realize we were going on the air with you, but here we are.
No, it's great to have you guys, man. Getting ready to kick off this home set against the Everett Aqua Sox, and it looks like we're going to get some good weather this week, which is nice.
Yeah, we didn't really expect it. Matt and I were down in Eugene this past week looking at the forecast and thought, ooh, man, the first day or two could be iffy, but it's actually pretty nice out here.
Yeah, it was a little bit rough on Friday and Saturday for the Hops, but they bounced back with a strong shutout win yesterday, and hopefully that will carry some momentum into the series to start tonight.
Yeah, first time Eugene had got shut out all year when they got blanked on Sunday, and Matt called that game, and it's one of the best games, I'd say, Matt, that the Hops put together all the way around all year.
Well, really good to see David Hageman come out and have a good start. This is one of the highest-ranked prospect pitchers in the Diamondbacks organization. Late start to the season coming out of spring training, and he looked really sharp his first time out this year, but his two previous starts got knocked around a bit, but he was really on point on Sunday, limiting Eugene to just 2 hits over 5 1/3 innings. As Rich said, this is a team that has not been shut out all year long. Hops have only won 3 games against the Emeralds this season.
In 15 tries.
In 15 tries. However, in those 3 games, they've limited Eugene to 2 total runs. Eugene's been shut out once. They've given up they've been held to 1 run in 4 games this year. So the Hops have handed Eugene 3 of their 5 lowest scoring games this season. But that illustrates the strength of this Hops team, which is the starting pitching rotation.
And, Chad, you should know that Tommy Troy, a former Hop, he was with us in 2023 and 2024, made his Major League debut on Sunday, couple of games. He's hit well so far. I think 3 for 7 for the Diamondbacks heading into play today. And he's the 71st former Hop to go on and play in the Major Leagues.
Yeah, I think that's pretty amazing. In fact, Tommy Troy is one of the guys I had a chance to meet and talk with, and I'm sure like a lot of the guys you come across, but a great young man. And so when I hear their backstory and understand the grind and the process they go through, when you see them get that opportunity to go up to the big leagues, it's exciting, man. I love it because I understand what they've gone through to get to where they're at.
Yeah, it's a challenging thing to get to the big leagues. I have a friend who is more a basketball and football fan than a baseball fan, and he was so surprised to learn that when players get drafted, it might take them 3 to 5 years to make the major leagues. And the other sports, you get drafted and you're there.
What can you guys tell me about the pitching matchup we have tonight with Brian Curley and Taylor Dollard?
We got Brian Curley, who's in his first pro season out of the University of Georgia, 3rd rounder, hard thrower, really comes right after the hitters, didn't walk a batter over his first 3 starts for the Hops this year. And now the opposing pitcher, Taylor Dollard, is more of a finesse pitcher, and he's a graybeard for this level. I think he's 27 years old. He's reached AAA in the Mariners organization, but he's coming back from an assortment of injuries. Kind of surprised that he's still at Everett at this point. He's been there most of this season, but he's trying to get back into form. He was, at one time, one of the higher-ranked prospects in the Mariners organization.
That's pretty nice, Rich. I wanted to ask you, Oregon State, they're going to kick off on Friday against Washington State in the Eugene Regional. What do you think about their positioning?
Well, I don't like it. I think they should be hosting. I think they should be hosting over West Virginia or over Kansas. But as my
don't let David Hageman or Brady Council let you hear that.
as my broadcast partner with the Oregon State Beavers, Bill Rouse, says, it doesn't matter, though. Just this time of year, you got to be playing your best baseball. If you're playing your best baseball, you can beat any team on any field. And so, they just need to hope they do that. I always a little worry about the rest versus rust sort of thing. The pitching staff will be completely fresh heading into the weekend because they didn't play official games this past weekend. They did have intra-squad games in front of fans on Friday and Saturday. So I'm a little concerned about the hitting, especially heading into that first game Friday against Washington State. They can't look ahead. They can't say, oh, well, we're here against the Ducks. They got to beat the Cougs first.
Well, I'm going to take a point-counterpoint stance here. I, for one, am excited that we're going to probably see Oregon. Well, we will definitely see Oregon and Oregon State meet in the postseason.
Well, not necessarily. They both have to either win or lose their first game, and if one wins and one loses, then they can meet later on. But I'd say there's a very good chance they meet at some point. And I like that. It's interesting that after the committee sent out, or the NCAA sent out a letter a month ago saying that the committee would be penalizing teams for canceling games to protect their RPI, that they didn't do that. And that the Ducks indeed are hosting, and that they're, in fact, the number 11 seed.
That's interesting. You mentioned the rest versus rust. Like the Knicks, for example, they're going to get over a week off. The finals won't start until June 3rd. But you think in baseball, Rich, that the hitting goes before the pitching? Like if you go in rested, the pitchers will be fine, but the hitting, the timing, and that coordination for the hitting can be a little bit of a struggle.
I think so. That's what worries me the most. And it was true last year when their first year playing an independent schedule. They didn't have an opponent to play in, so they had some intra-squad games during the opening week prior to the regional, and they came out and laid an egg against St. Mary's and had to fight their way back through the losers bracket, and were the only host, the only team, host or otherwise, to lose one of their first two games in any of the 16 regionals that came back to win it. All the other teams started off 2-0.
We're talking with Rich Burke, Matt Rickard, as they get ready for the Hobbs, taking on Everett tonight here on your home of the Hobbs. First pitch coming up at 6:35. Hey, Rich, I asked Matt this, but I wanted to ask you, and he said I should ask you because you're such a great storyteller when you're doing a baseball game, and you've got all the backstories on the different players. And I'm just wondering, like, the grind to get ready for a game, what's your process to finding all these nice little nuggets and details on the different guys that you're covering on a nightly basis?
Yeah, good question. Matt and I both have our own systems where we dig pretty deep, and the real truth is, if you know two or three things about two or three guys, people think you know everything about everybody.
Yes.
But we dig pretty deep. Just do a Google search and see what you can find, and then I like to spend time when I can downstairs talking to players. I just had a good conversation today with the Hobbs starting center fielder Slade Caldwell. About playing center field here at this ballpark. So a lot of it is just by talking to them. And then just today I put into our game notes some nuggets that I had dug up from some pregame interviews that I have done over the last month. So that's a good way to do it. Matt, what about you?
Well, I know this has bugged Rich over the years because he spends all this time producing these great detailed game notes for the game that I rarely look at. And there's a reason for that. I do my own research and produce my own notes, and the idea being that just the process of researching the information, typing it out, copying and pasting, organizing all that, you're getting it into your brain. And I know I listen to more detail than your average listener of a sports broadcast, but I don't want to get the sense when I'm listening to a game or watching a game on television that the broadcaster is reading notes off of a page. If I'm hearing background or information or trivia, I want it to flow naturally in the broadcast and just sound like he knows it, that he's not reading it off a page.
That makes a lot of sense.
That's the art of it. And then the other thing is, a lot of what we talk about is off the top of our heads from our spheres of knowledge. It's been, people talk about concentric circles. You're talking about the game, then you're talking about the league, then you're talking about this season as a whole, you're talking about Major League Baseball, you're talking about baseball history. The circles get wider, and the more you can fill in from all those things, the more entertaining a broadcast is, and that's more true in baseball than any other because there's more time to talk about.
Yeah, but sometimes we pull information out of other parts of our body too. That's just the way it goes in this business sometimes.
We're talking with Rich Burke, Matt Rickard, getting ready for the Hobbs and Everett coming up first pitch at 6:35. Rich, I know you're a big fan of the game, but I was talking about this with Seth and with Matt last week. How many different ballparks have you been to in the majors?
It's been a few years since I added it up. I think between 35 and 40, including parks that are no longer there. There's plenty I haven't been to yet.
I love that. What's one that you have not been to that you want to go to? The one that came up with all of us was Pittsburgh.
I've been to Pittsburgh, and I love it. And if you haven't been there, you're right to want to go. That is a good question. Trying to think about the places I'd really like to go, but I haven't been yet. I mean, both the ballparks in Texas.
San Diego's ballpark. Do they still call it Petco? I don't keep up on the changes in in naming rights, but that's definitely high on my list too with Pittsburgh. Yeah.
Petco's incredible. Fun fact. My voice was the first voice ever heard by fans inside Petco Park.
What?
I was a AAA play-by-play announcer for the Padres, and I had done some spring training games for them at the big league level, and they were opening up Petco Park, I think, in 2004. And they asked me to come down and help them do some interviews. And so I was going to be on top of the dugout during their Fan Fest when they let fans in the gates for the first time. There was no game that day. It was just a chance for fans to come in and see the ballpark for the first time. And I think the gates opened at maybe 11 a.m., and it was going to be me doing some of the early interviews, and then they'd have the more well-known Padres broadcasters do it once more fans got in. And so I'm down on top of the dugout, and they shove a microphone in my hand, and I turn around, and there's Bruce Bochy with his size 8 head and all looking at me. And somebody said, hey, Rich, go. And it wasn't over the air or anything. It was just over the PA system. And there I am, fans just walking in for the first time to Petco Park. My voice is going over the loudspeakers, interviewing Bruce Bochy.
Yes, that's so good. I loved it when I was down in the Bay Area. You know, he was with the Giants, and Bruce Bochy is one of the coolest, calmest guys to ever be around, man. He understands the game, and you could tell his players loved him. So that's cool you got a chance to do that.
Well, he'd fit perfectly in a broadcast booth between Seth and I, the Big Head Club up there.
Wait, perfectly? I'm not sure there'd be enough room.
but Rich, you probably remember this. My finest work when I was with the Beavers was when I took your call from when the Beavers won the pennant, and I used that on the team's voicemail when people would call in. So the first thing they heard was your call, Beavers win the pennant, Beavers win the pennant. And that was before they would leave a voicemail. I thought that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, we know what year that was, 2004, because they only did it once in 10 years.
That's great. So, well, I mean, what else are you guys looking for aside from tonight's game? What else are you looking for or hoping for throughout the course of the series this week?
Well, Mariners affiliate.
Of course, yeah, exciting to see the Mariners prospects coming here for the first time. Felnin Celestin unfortunately had his hitting streak end over the weekend. Otherwise, he would have been going for a potential Northwest League record this week. He hit in 25 consecutive games before going 0 for his last 2 games over the weekend against Tri-City. But that's a player the Mariners have invested a lot of capital in out of the Dominican Republic. Luke Stevenson, an up-and-coming prospect at catcher out of the University of North Carolina. He was drafted at the end of round 1 last year. He was the leading hitter in the Northwest League in the month of April. He's cooled off some. And then the leadoff hitter tonight, Johnny Farmello, also another top Mariners prospect. Great athlete, drafted out of high school, another first-rounder. And he'll be starting in center field and leading off tonight for the Aqua Sox.
Yeah, and Chad, one thing your listeners need to understand, we know our audience kind of understands these things, but your audience may not. How close these guys are to the big leagues. I mean, 3 levels below, but we've had players that played for us play in the major leagues the very same year. This is the only place in the Portland area where you can see this level of baseball.
Yeah, it's great. And you can do it in a premier ballpark now at Hillsboro Hops Ballpark. Rich Burke, Matt Rickard with us. Hey, guys, I appreciate the time. Enjoy the game tonight. And we got Hops baseball coming up next.
Hey, I always enjoy talking to you, Chad.
All right, cheers. Thank you, Chad.
You got it, fellas. All right, there you go. Rich Burke, Matt Rickard coming up next. A big thanks to Brendan Slaughter for engineering the program, to all of you for listening, and to Brian Berger for making time for the show. Tomorrow, Brad Bakken talking hoop at 5:20 for sure. Enjoy the game tonight, and we'll talk tomorrow.